you a little bit about myself so you know who's talking to you today. I earned my Doctor of Education and my Master's of Business Administration and my Master's of Art in Education from Murray State University. That's in Western Kentucky. Um, I started my journey, my college journey, at Evangel University, where I earned my Bachelor's of Business Administration, not my teaching degree. You'll hear about that in a minute. Um, at home, I'm married to Ken, my husband, and we have two daughters. We have Alyssa. She'll be 30 this year. I don't feel like I should have a 30-year-old, but I do. So she'll be 30 this year. She's special needs, and she lives in Texas. I also have Emma. She's 18, and you're going to hear about her in just a few minutes. So I'll let her tell about that. We also love pets. We're a pet-loving family. We have two Yorkies and a doodle. Right now, our doodle is recovering from surgery. He had a cancer removed yesterday, but he's doing good, but he's getting extra love. We also have two cats, and our one cat had surprise kittens that we didn't even know she was pregnant. She had 4 surprise kittens, so I had to include them on the slide. Sunday morning, just woke up, almost stepped on one. Had no idea that we were even expecting kittens. Very involved in my church and my family. I love spending time with them. And my professional experience, you're going to hear more about that in just a minute. So I'm going to pause on that one in just a minute. But let me just tell you that teaching is really a part of who I am in my personal life and in my classroom. So let's just play a little game for a second. It's a game that I like to call Choose Your Chaos, the first day of teaching. So I want you to picture this. Picture this. It's your first day of teaching. You walk into your classroom, you've got your iced coffee, you're looking sharp, you're ready to inspire minds. But here's what you see. One student's crying because she dropped her granola bar. One student's under the desk pretending to be a cat. Another kid's yelling, "He took my pencil, now he's cursed." And of course, you've got the 2 kids in the back of the room doing TikToks because that's what they do. So just take that in for a minute. That's what you're walking into. What are you going to do? And you can put your answer in the chat. What are you going to do? Which one of these? Do you yell, "Everybody sit down"? Or do you turn around, walk back out of the classroom, and get out your phone and Google, "How do I fake my own disappearance?" Notice the Thanos snap there. Or do you take a deep breath, get down on the kids' level, and say, "Okay, one thing at a time. We got this." What do? You can put that in the chat if you want. I will tell you the correct answer for a teacher would be C, even though, let's be honest, I think we've all done B before. I'm not going to lie to you. Being a teacher is a little bit chaotic at times. It's a little bit chaos, a little bit improv comedy, but it's a whole lot of heart. It's a whole lot of heart. You're going to deal with real emotions, real personalities, sometimes a whole lot of glitter, but you get real victories. That first time the first kid reads a full sentence, or your first middle schooler finally understands fractions. That moment that high school graduate walks back in your room and says, "You know what, Dr. Argo, you were my favorite teacher." I'm just going to tell you that it's unpredictable. Sometimes it's hilarious, but I'm going to tell you it's meaningful. So let's talk about how to get there. Let's talk about how to get there. Let's look at a day in the life of just a typical day of a teacher. You know, it's kind of different from talking about a typical day of a nurse or a surgeon or a business person because you've been there. You see teachers every day. You've seen them since preschool. But there's a little behind the scenes stuff too. Most teachers arrive at school well before the students. The early part of the day is usually spent maybe reviewing plans, prepping their materials. Sometimes you got to attend, quick meetings. But once the school bell rings, it is go time. You're teaching lessons, answering questions, working one-on-one with students. You're keeping that classroom running smoothly. But teaching isn't just about delivering content. It's about building relationships, encouraging students, adapting lessons, and being flexible on your feet when things don't really go as planned. It's not all go. You do have planning periods. I will say you do have some downtime. During those planning periods, you can grade work, you can send emails to parents, you can collaborate with other teachers. You do have after school things too. You can be like a tutor. You can be a club leader, like a club mentor, or a what's it called, like a club leader. I lost my words. You can be a coach. You can coach sports sponsor, club sponsor. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. You can be a club, a sports coach. Some people stay after and they catch up on lesson planning or grading. Many teachers also like to bring work home, right? But the good thing about this is every day is different. If you like to be like quick on your feet and you don't like to do monotonous thing every day, teaching might be for you because you do something different every single day. That's what keeps it interesting. Okay, now let me get to the real stuff here. Let's talk about the best parts of being a teacher. So focus on the left side of this, the best parts of being a teacher. And I'm going to admit there's a lot of things to love. So I just narrowed it down. First, you really get to make a difference in kids' lives, in students' lives. You may be the one person who believes in a student when no one else does. Years from now, students may look back and they think of you. They think of you. That's powerful. It is amazing when you watch students grow and succeed. Like I said, whether it's them reading a sentence or catching on a math skill, or maybe even just coming out of their shell socially. It's really good to watch that transformation. Another part is creativity. Do you like to be creative? Do you like to plan things and get to use your creativity skills, hands-on, come up with new ways? That's a really cool feature of being a teacher as well. There's also, I'm just going to tell you the practical side, job stability, good benefits. There's always a need for teachers. It may vary on the location or the subject, but education overall is a stable career. You get health insurance, retirement, sick leave. And this last one, I'm just going to tell you, I know you might not be thinking about it right now, but those of you who want families, you're going to have a similar schedule to those as your children. That's a huge perk. You're generally off when they're off. Summer break, holidays, snow days. When you're trying to balance homework and life work, home and life, home and work life, that's a huge deal. I'm just going to tell you that's a huge deal. Of course, no job's perfect. Let's go to the right side of the screen. One big challenge is the workload. Outside of the workday, there's lesson planning, grading, emails, meetings. Sometimes it can pile on you. Managing classroom behavior. Not every student's motivated. Not every student comes to school ready to work. Managing the classroom by keeping it safe requires a lot of patience, a lot of skill. Another challenge is standardized testing. You might think as a student that there's a lot of pressure for you to do good. There's a lot of pressure on teachers for us to make it, sometimes it feels like there's more focus on test scores than actual learning. And that can be frustrating when you're trying to do what's best for your students. Sometimes schools have limited resources. So you have to be really creative and maybe even spend your own money on materials and supplies. It's not really fair, but it is a reality in some places. And finally, you've got those emotional challenges. You might work with students who are going through really tough situations like trauma, family issues, even hunger. When I worked in a brick and mortar building, I kept feminine supplies, I kept food, and those students came and got those as they needed. I spent my own money on that because I had to deal with those emotional challenges, and my heart went out to them, and they were, I deeply cared for those students. But here's the thing, for a lot of teachers, those positive outweigh those challenges. Let's talk about the skills that you might need. Do you got the skills to become a teacher? Here's some key skills. You have to have good communication skills, and public speaking skills. You need to know how to speak to a classroom, with parents, with coworkers. Next, you've got to have patience. Oh my goodness. You have to know that students learn at different paces. Some days are tougher than others. Even when things get chaotic, like we talked about before, you need to know how to stay calm and supportive. You also need to have time management, organization. Teachers juggle a lot, deadlines, meetings, gradings. It helps you keep from being overwhelmed. Creativity, creativity, empathy. Most important, I think, is empathy. Great teachers care deeply about their students as people, not just their grades. They listen, they support, they show understanding when life gets hard. If you're someone who wants to help others, teaching might be a perfect fit. Teaching might be a perfect fit for you. One of the best things about teaching is that it doesn't just lock you in to one kind of job. There are so many choices that you can make depending on what kind of teaching you want to go into. Let's start with the who and where of teaching. Who do you want to teach? If you like the energy, energy and imagination of young kids, you might want to go into preschool or early elementary. Some teachers like the little independence and curiosity of upper elementary. Bless your heart, if you're called to work with middle schoolers, that is all on you. They're figuring out who they are. Woo! Maybe high school's your vibe. That's my vibe, where you get to focus on a specific subject area like business or English, science, math. You get to focus on that. Maybe post-secondary, that's college, working with college students or even adults as they return to school or they learn new skills. Where can you teach? Well, public schools, that's probably the most common. Private schools, they can even be like faith-based schools. Local co-ops, like homeschooled students or specialized communities, you can teach in those. Community college, university. You know what? You can even teach in business settings. Companies need educators to train employees or to create learning materials. There's so many opportunities when it comes to teaching. There's so many career progression opportunities too. You don't just stay there. It grows with you. A lot of people think, I'm a teacher, I'm going to be a teacher until I retire. I'm going to just stay right there. Nuh-uh. There's a lot of building on this career. You can be a classroom teacher. You can probably start out as a classroom teacher. Be a mid-level, like a grade level team leader, instructional coach, curriculum specialist, specialize in ed tech. That's a really hot topic right now. Go to advanced roles like being an assistant principal or principal, curriculum coordinator, even a superintendent. Can you picture yourself being a superintendent? Higher education, you can be a professor or an educational researcher. You can also take other paths, like if you're tired of the classroom, tired of school together, you can still use that teaching degree. Be a business training, educational product design, educational researcher. So whether you picture yourself working with kindergartners, training adults, leading a high school, a teaching degree can take you so far. Let's talk about what you need to do, like education-wise. Save your questions or put them in the chat, and we're going to get to them at the end. Let's talk about what it takes. Here's the, whoa, that's not right. Here's the traditional pathway. Most people go through what's called a college education program. You get your bachelor's degree in education. You do your student teaching the last semester. You take your certification exams, like here in Kentucky, we take the praxis exam. It just tests you on your subject and teaching skills. Once you pass those, you apply for your teaching license. That's the most direct route. You know what? There's other ways to become a teacher. What about transition to teaching program? These are for people who already have a bachelor's degree and they want to switch careers. You'll take teaching courses while already working in the classroom. I did that. You're going to hear my story in a second. Emergency certification in areas where there are teacher shortages. Some states allow you to begin teaching with a temporary certificate while you complete your schoolwork. These are in areas of high need like math, science, maybe even special education. And then Teach for America is this competitive program where if you're a college graduate, you can commit to teaching in an underserved underserved community for at least 2 years. They'll train you, they'll support you, and they'll give you full certification afterwards and pay for the whole thing. So many ways to become a teacher. Let me tell you a little bit about my journey. I didn't want to become a teacher. I honestly thought I would never step foot back in a high school again. I was bullied. I didn't like high school. I didn't want to go back. But after graduation and getting my business major, I came back to the small rural community of Dawson Springs, Kentucky. You probably never even heard of it. Opportunities were limited. I felt like there were two options, nursing or teaching. I don't like blood, so I didn't want to go into nursing. That's where I discovered this alternate route to certification through Murray State. It's designed for people who already have a degree and they wanted to transition into teaching. So through that, I earned my Master's of Education. I took a few extra classes and got my MBA, my Master's of Business, just in case I needed it. From there, I spent 15, 17 years teaching business and marketing in high school classrooms. I taught dual credit classrooms, which I taught dual credits like teaching high school, but they also earn college credit. I also worked as an adjunct professor at local community colleges. Over time, I started exploring online teaching and virtual teaching. I actually led virtual classes in my high school at Lyon County. Eventually, I earned my doctorate of education and I shifted to a college setting. I became an instructional designer. That's somebody who designs courses. So I actually designed college courses and I helped other teachers learn how to teach online. It was so fun. But I started missing something. I missed you guys. I missed you guys. I missed students. So I transitioned back into teaching business, but doing it virtually this time. You know, careers aren't always straight lines, guys. I never expected this path, but doors just kept opening and I just kept walking through them. I have a special guest that's going to speak to you today. I want her to unmute her mic. It's my daughter, Emma. She's actually in the UK College of Education right now. And she's going to tell you a little bit about what it's like to be a current College of Education student. So, Emma.
Hi, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Emma, and I am Dr. Argrove's daughter. I would just like to share a little bit with you about my journey to becoming a teacher. So I always knew that I wanted to work with kids. And when I tell you I jumped around from job to job, I jumped around from job to job. I jumped around from social worker to child psychologist, and even the start of my senior year just last year, I landed on becoming a pediatrician. But then college level chemistry 2 changed my mind on that decision. So teaching, the career that I had always hung around in my mind, is finally where I'm deciding to go, and I'm actually so happy that I made that decision. A big part of making that decision was working in the children's ministry at church, which is pictured there on the slide. I was 16 when I became the lead teacher in a Sunday school class that had students from ages 2 to 10. I loved teaching them so much, even though it was a little crazy at times, alongside being the assistant in the kids zone, which is what we called our children's ministry, which I had worked as since I was 12 years old. When I finally became when I finally landed on becoming an elementary teacher, I took a class at my high school called Principles of Teaching, which there's a few pictures there of me in that class. I was able to observe and engage in a first grade classroom. I taught super fun lessons and made some really great connections in the school. They also made a new program that year where high school students could become aides in special education classrooms in the district. I was an aide in the high school and middle school combined moderate to severe special education unit, and I eventually became an aide in the elementary moderate to severe special education unit. And for the last month of school, I worked there full time because we had an unfortunate passing of a teacher in there. And so they asked me to come in full time and work in there. And so I was able to do that for them. And as you can see in that cap and gown picture there, I started attending Madisonville Community College online during my sophomore year in high school. I graduated with my associates at the same time graduating from high school. It was a lot of work, but it's worth it. because although I am technically a freshman at University of Kentucky right now, I'm taking courses right now that go towards my major, elementary education. I'm currently taking math for teachers, which I was just in, geology for teachers, music for teachers, special education, and I even snuck in some time to join the UK Women's Choir. I only have 3 semesters left until graduation. Next semester is my pre-practicum, then practicum, and then student teaching, and then I'm done. Over the last few semesters, I will have a lot of in-classroom time to get some ideas from other experienced teachers and build confidence in talking to students, even teaching students, and classroom management. I'm going to continue through college and get my master's in school guidance counseling. I will probably be taking that online while I am teaching in the classroom, which is what a lot of teachers do. And so I plan to teach for a few years and then pick up the guidance counseling path. But I am just incredibly happy with where I am right now. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I'm in a classroom right now doing my observation, and I just fell in love with the students. I fell in love with the atmosphere. I am learning so much. So even if you think, I don't know if I have the skills for this, I don't know where I'm going to start, college is where that's what it's for. That's what it's for. And you'll get a lot of in-classroom time and experience, and you'll learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So some tips for you is, don't take teaching for granted. It is so much fun, and it may sound really hectic and chaotic at times, which it is. But overall, it is super fun, and all the classes that I'm taking make me want to just be in a classroom right now. I wish I was teaching right here, right now, and I'm so glad that I'm so close to it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions later if you have them for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Em. Thank you so much. One last slide, and Emma's already kind of gone over a lot of this, is ways to explore teaching. And she told you some of this. Volunteer in schools, even your local school district, even if you don't go there, you can go and ask them about, hey, you know, I'm interested in teaching. Can I observe? And you can fill out the background forms and they can let you observe. Become a teacher's aide or camp counselor. Think of those, your camp counselor. I think Ava, you work in a summer camp. Yeah. Next year, we are hoping to have Educators Rising. If not, we'll offer FEA. And so you can have an opportunity to join those clubs. Shadow a teacher for a day, work with children, take introductory education courses, which we will offer next year. And you can always use Tallo. You have access to Tallo. You can observe teachers there. You can find out more about the teaching profession all through that, and so many other opportunities that you can look at through Tallo as well.